too. And I am Alina, and I make comics you can read at alinapete.com or at weirdgeek.com.
Alina.
Yeah, what's up?
Beast Complex is Beastars but gayer.
That is saying something. Beastars is so gay.
It's so gay. It's going over like every story one by one. And here's the short story. Here's the queer subtext. And
is this like an article? It's like the guide to the gay of Beast Complex.
Yeah.
Good. How? Which one is Beast Complex? What's the main characters?
Well, it's an anthology series, so there is no main character.
Oh, that's right. It's the like Beastars follow-up, right? Where they're all ostensibly in an apartment. But it doesn't matter. It's just random stories from the Beastars world.
It's just random stories from the Beastar universe, because and the thing is that she actually started it before Beastars.
Oh, really?
So volume 1 was drawn before Beastars, and then 2 and 3 are after Beastars. And you can tell because Legacy is in the background of volume 2 and 3, but not in the background of volume 1. And there's a little one of the short stories like an epilogue to Beastars. I still think Juno should top Louis. Like, I know the ship is Louis and Legoshi, but I think actually Louis needs to get topped by someone, and Legoshi certainly isn't the top.
No,
so
not in that relationship.
No.
Despite literally eating him in a very not I was gonna say gay subtext, but it was just text. It was just like
well, so what this video I was watching brings up is the when people say, oh, like Beastars is about race because it's about an interracial couple, and it's like,
no, it's not.
Well,
I mean, kind of.
Well, kind of, but not. Like, it's about everything. It's one of the things where. So the thing is herbivore carnivore marriages aren't illegal. The reason why they can't get married at the end of Beastars is because of Legoshi getting caught with Louis.
Yeah.
Even though what they were doing, they were both consenting to.
Yeah.
So he's on a meat offender list, which is like being on a sex offender list. So he is on the sex offender list. Well, the thing is he's on there for a thing that both parties consented to.
Mm-hmm. So it's not really all that, you know.
Yeah, so it's gay. So he can't marry Haru because he was caught with Louis. And then
that's not even
yeah.
It's just
yeah. So and then it's like, all right, now here's a story. Yeah. And then they're like, and then another one is about the first story in Beast Complex is about a tiger and a beaver who are childhood friends, and the high school that the Beastars characters go to is weird because it is co-ed. Co-ed or co-herbivory, carnivory. And so the first Beast Complex story shows that separation doesn't happen until they're age 10.
Right.
And basically when they're gonna go to, so it's the tiger kid keeps sneaking into the dorms for the herbivore kids because he wants to hang out with his best friend who's a beaver. And it's kind of, the tiger kid doesn't want to get bigger.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't want to grow
B,
up. Just has these,
he,
innocent little feelings.
well, it's also a discomfort with his own body and what puberty's going to do with it.
Yeah.
So this is why I sent it. I linked it to a Discord I'm in, and I was like, "Here go." It's spoiler alert. They're all trans. And because why else would you be like that? That's some dysphoria about your body going on there.
I don't
Yeah.
want to grow up and have weird feelings about.
Or more just I don't. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want my body. I don't want to. Yeah. So.
I will grow up into a predator, and I don't want that. I just want to be.
Yeah.
Just how I am.
I can't be my beaver buddy.
Yeah,
hang
the
out.
scene where Legoshi and his friends go to like the red light district where people are eating meat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is very. This is just a brothel, but it's meat.
Yeah.
All of the adults sneak out. They go and they eat meat in this red light district. And some people will literally sell their bodies.
Yep. And then one of the other stories is like I was mentioned is there's one about a sheep girl whose horns are growing in a way that it will pierce her brain. And she's not being proactive about getting them removed, but until the end of the story, and she like bonds with someone else. And it turns out, and you know, female sheep don't get horns that big.
Yeah.
So this is like, she's trans, like they, without them even flat out saying it. Like there's no other reason this would be happening. And then
respects her pronouns. She's always she. No one thinks it's weird that she has horns. They're just concerned that her horns are too big and growing into her brain.
Well, so that's the thing about her being so passive, is she was waiting for someone to be like, to push her to get the surgery that she was afraid to get to. But no one yeah, and no one was doing that until this turtle guy that she hangs out with.
Who is a good ally. He's the one who's the tattooist, right?
Yes.
He has such a cool shell. I love his tattooed shell.
Yeah. He's great.
What? The cool tattooed guy has to give the trans girl advice?
Yeah.
Trans man turtle.
And then, yeah. And then the other thing is to talk about trans dudes. One of the stories is about a Shiba Inu who's a model.
Right.
And is like a cutesy girl calendar, but it turns out is actually like a chain smoking 40-year-old dude. And
he permanently looks like a cute young girl.
Well, obviously there's a lot of makeup to make him look younger, but and they dress him up to be a young girl, but it's he just wants to be a short king.
Yeah. I was picturing him getting off a shoot and like he's been talking all high all day, and then he's just, fuck, I need to smoke.
I mean, there's literally a panel that's just that. It's him like smoking while wearing a Lolita dress.
Amazing. Called it.
Yeah. It's great. And then I I know that I got you to read it by showing you the masseuse story,
Oh, fuck yes, that was
where
great.
it's the llama abusing the tiger in a horny way.
Yeah.
Um,
If there had been some consent involved, it would have been a very hot story, but there was not a ton of consent going on in that very dommy scene. Always get consent. Well done.
it's important.
Very important. And like maybe don't screw your clients.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're a sex worker, then
Yeah.
that's your
Yeah.
job. But
At least don't screw your clients if they're not consenting and in touch
yeah,
beforehand. She kind of sprung it on her. That being said, the
very
like
hot.
very hot. The herbivore being like, "Listen, you're in my hands now, predator. Lie the fuck down."
Yeah.
I can't read Beast Complex. Did you ever read the webcomic Kevin and Kel like way back in the ancient days of the internet?
No, I think I read one or two
Yeah,
strips, but I never got into it.
it's it's a lot to get. It's so weird because it's like it's got some of the standard sort of tropes of like a newspaper comic, but obviously it's very furry and very
Mhm.
into like the relationship lives of these weird animal people, but also like it's very implicit that herbivores can't eat meat and carnivores can't eat not meat and herbivores are meat. So there's like all these storylines about people like getting chased and devoured and but it's also this like cute and fluffy kind of world.
Yeah. That
So
reminds me of
it's like Beastars
Rocco's
Lives.
Modern Life. Reminds me of Rocco's Modern Life where they go to visit Heifer's family
Oh
who
yeah.
are all wolves, and
Yeah.
the dad is quote unquote watching the game, and it's like a cheetah chasing a gazelle.
Yeah.
Uh and then grandpa keeps wanting to eat Rocco.
Good. There's a sort of trans character in Kevin and Kel who's like I think he was a wolf. Yeah, I think he was a wolf guy who wanted to be a herbivore, so he gets like a stomach transplant. They put like rumination chambers into his stomach so he can eat plants, and then he wears a pelt because sheep wool, and everyone just treats him like a regular sheep after that.
um hmm Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that so people sometimes get caught up in that meat eaters should only eat meat when there aren't that many obligate carnivores.
No, and even deer
Um
will eat meat sometimes. So like
I mean, we watched Louis do
herbivores,
it.
yeah. There's sure a lot of art of that on the internet.
um
There are so many details in
I
Link's arm.
I hope that the author does more Beast Complex. She has a new series, but I want the weird horny furries.
We all do. It's very good.
I mean, I think her new series is doing well.
Oh, good.
So
But
she might
also,
be done with Beast Complex for a while.
yeah, someone else will just have to take up the horny furry's mantle.
pulling up her new thing. It's called Drip Drip. Whenever Mako Hiragari comes in contact with something she perceives as dirty, she gets a massive nosebleed. How can she find a loving partner and commit to meaningful interpersonal relationships when just touching a person makes her bleed out? Especially when most of the men she meets are sleazy creeps. Her first challenge might be learning to love herself.
Interesting.
So it's
like
about a horny lady.
Yeah, it's that playing with that anime trope of when you are horny, your nose instantly gushes so much.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was actually a thing and it was a problem because you could bleed out. Phil, did you know that you can make comics without a publisher?
I did know that. I have several books that attest to that.
Yeah, the big thing going around on the internet today is IDW offering the terrible rates for.
I heard from people who have worked for IDW that is a lie.
Oh, really?
The only source, like that screenshot, comes from a website that you may or may not be familiar with called Bleeding Cool.
Yeah.
And are you aware of Bleeding Cool's reputation?
I only somewhat. I know they are not to be trusted, but I don't remember.
They are not to be trusted, and this is one of the cases where maybe get a second source.
Gotcha.
But I agree with the points everyone is making, that everyone should get paid better, and higher ups need to stop trying to cut corners.
Yeah.
So I agree with the argument happening, but that is probably not true. Yes.
Gotcha. Good to know. Yeah, I don't know a lot of the specifics of the Bleeding Cool fuckery, but I know that there was some.
Oh, basically, he just posts anything that he hears gossip-wise and never confirms it, or.
Oh, so there's like zero happening. It's just.
Yes. Like if he wanted to report on Andrea quitting Iron Circus, he would have just taken what she said at first, face value, and published it.
That is a problem.
So,
Pico, would you please stop trying to eat my face? Sorry, Pico is trying to stick his entire head into my mouth to find my teeth. Pico's my bird, for those who are listening.
Yeah.
There's not some weird human here. I mean, there is, but it's me.
There could be. There's a weird human named Alina in your house.
Get them out.
I have to design new outfits for Rebecca, so she's not wearing the same thing all the time.
Good.
The thing is I wanna make sure that all of her clothes are easy for her to take off.
Important.
Cause she gotta wolf it up. Also, last night while streaming, I was talking to Grace, and we had a fun Star Trek conversation that I would like to get your opinion on. So I have a headcanon that because Cardassians think insulting people is flirting, all their rom-coms are enemies to lovers.
Oh my god, yes. No, absolutely.
So Grace was like...
Basically have to be.
Yeah, so Grace upon me sharing that with Grace, said, "What American rom-coms do you think Cardassians would like?"
Ooh.
I said 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah.
Either All About Eve or His Girl Friday. I forget which movie it is, but I know it's Cary Grant fighting with a lady the whole time. And then I also suggested possibly You Got Mail.
Maybe that one would be a. Oh, hey, buddy, you need snuggles? Pico jumped on my pen and is rubbing his head on it now because he wants me to scratch him.
Because that one starts with him trying to destroy her business. So,
yeah. I think Cardassian Pride and Prejudice would be hilarious because they would fucking love Elizabeth and Darcy for the first bit, where they're like fighting and she thinks he's the worst person in the world. But then once she's all pining for him, they would be like, these nobles are not stabbing each other nearly enough.
Great
human nobles are there.
Grace also suggested that Cardassians seeing Titus Andronicus.
Oh yeah.
Would be confused by the ending because why didn't they hook up?
No, totally. They'd be like, this was going to be real hot. What the fuck is wrong with you humans?
Yeah, why didn't they hook up?
We were into this, but now I guess it's a twist ending. Weird.
Also, when we were talking about To Shape a Dragon's Breath, you asked me where it takes place.
Yeah.
And I said, I think Nova Scotia. That is wrong. I'm a dum-dum. It's I feel particularly dumb that I missed this. And I'm going to attribute it to the fact that I was listening to the audiobook and could not see where they live written down. They're in Massachusetts with an extra syllable. Because the white colonizers are the English, and it's just the whole time they're saying where they live, and it's Massachusetts with an extra syllable, and I feel it's like I'm dumb in hindsight. Like I should have realized that. And I think I immediately figured out exactly where everything was once I made that connection.
Oh, okay.
I
mean, Nova Scotia and Massachusetts is basically the same, right?
Yeah. Then I started a new book that I also picked up after Worldcon. Called No Gods, No Monsters.
Ooh.
And it is about the world finding out about the supernatural, but it's a bunch of like vaguely interconnected stories, and it jumps around between them, and it is just like real like holistic approach to telling this story. And the writer, the prose is like really beautiful and powerful. I will warn you that it starts with police brutality.
Okay. Thank you.
Because basically it starts with one of the first stories is a lady's brother was shot by the police. And at first it is dismissed as yet another incident of the police being racist. But then she sees footage that has been like covered up, and her brother was a werewolf and she didn't know it. So he was shot while in a big wolf form.
Right.
And the werewolves form a protest where in wolf form they basically block a highway and then all shift back into normal humans. And then the next bit is about like some conspiracy theorist website board and what they think is going on. So it jumps around a lot. I really dig it. It's like I do like world building, just I don't like it when it's all laid out in like exposition dump. This is the exactly type of like building a world that I like, which is here's a bunch of little things, much like Beast Complex. Here's a bunch of little stories that are painting a wider picture of what's going on.
I honestly I like Beast Complex for that. It's really fun to sort of see, like, because some of my favorite Beastars stories were always the like, here's just a random thing in this world, like the Chicken Girl. The Chicken Girl was so great. I love her.
Yeah,
but it like brings up questions of like, yeah, where were they getting those eggs? Oh yeah, it's from the chicken people, obviously.
Yeah.
And what are the ethics of eating someone else's periods, essentially? You know, as humans we'd be squeamish about that, but clearly for animals, they're like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Not like they're alive. Like that's food, and we do eat living people.
And yeah, so it's just and it's also there's a key theme about like communication being like the key to people working together. It's just really good. Like and the guy who reads the audiobook has a great voice.
I have not yet started on oops. Never mind. Sorry. Okay, there. I've not yet started on your title of book. We were just talking about
To Shape a Dragon's Breath.
Yeah, which is definitely on my to-read list and
Yeah.
has been for some time. But a friend of mine was like, okay, if you're gonna read it, it gets compared to The Fourth Wing all the time. Read The Fourth Wing first. You won't like it as much, but then you can compare the two. And I was like, okay.
I don't know what The Fourth Wing is about. What's that about?
It is about it's like Hunger Games if it was in a dragon riding school. So all of the candidates are expected to go through all these like challenges, and like 50% of them will die before the end of the year. But if you live, you get to be bonded to a dragon and get magic powers.
Okay.
So the main character is like the daughter of a famous general who's a badass lady, but who like doesn't show much affection for her kids. And her brother was killed, but he was a famous dragon rider who can like heal. She's comes in and she's like, I'm very weak because I have a I forget the name of the disorder, but it's one where your like tendons and ligaments are very loose, so you can dislocate an arm.
Hypermobility.
Yeah, something like that. So she's like, I don't know that I like. My mom has insisted that I go and be a dragon rider because everyone in my family has to be a dragon rider, but like I was going to be a scribe because I'm fragile. I don't like my odds of surviving this killer school, but I guess I got to do it anyway because mom's insisting. So she goes in there, and it's well written. Don't get me wrong, but it's got. I don't mean this disparagingly, but it's got like a lot of AO3 influence. In that there's like, you know, there's a lot of she's not a Mary Sue because she's definitely a well-rounded character with a lot of like flaws and stuff, but she's got this like special snowflake syndrome that a lot of main characters on AO3 have. So she's the most specialist girl, and I mean that's pretty common in all teen fantasies anyway. So I will give it a pass, but yeah, sometimes it gets a little trying. especially when the pretty boys are fighting over her.
My life is so hard. Everyone wants to date me.
Get this. Here's that old AO3 formula. One of them is brooding and dangerous, and she definitely shouldn't love him, but he's so very pretty. And then the other one is her best friend, the boy next door, who's been friends with her since she was very young, and she trusts him. He's always looking out for her, but maybe too much, and it's bad because she can be an independent woman on her own. Yeah. I rolling on those scenes. I was like, okay, I get, yeah.
I fortunately, To Shape a Dragon's Breath doesn't have that.
That's why my friend was like, read To Shape a Dragon's Breath first because you will like it better. But
I mean, read the shittier book first,
yeah,
or
they were like, yeah, read the shittier book first, and then read the better one, and then you will at least know what people are comparing it to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Then I never know what to do with people's shoes. Rebecca's easy because I'll just give her like their world's equivalent of Crocs, because she wants to get those shoes off and on quick.
And she's
but
fucking comfort over function or form.
Well, here's the thing: her jacket kind of has a corset in it, so she clearly does care about what she looks like.
That's true.
She just wants to be able to take her shit off quickly.
When you turn into a wolf, important.
Yeah. So she's not completely oblivious to what she looks like. But it's just, she wants to be able to get naked quick.
Yeah.
Don't
we all?
I'm considering giving her a skirt in one of these outfits, because the skirt would be easier on her tail.
Yeah.
Trying to think of other books and stuff. Though really, my mind is now full of Beastars.
Good.
All Beastars all the time. Also, I need to read more Berserk. Gotta. There's an. Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna jump back to Beastars for a second.
Yeah, go back to Beastars.
I love how. So, like, clearly Legoshi and Louis' relationship is like gay long. It's like, oh no, it's forbidden. I cannot eat you. I cannot literally eat you. Our society will never understand that. Even though you want me to, and I want to, it's forbidden. But Haru and Legoshi's relationship is more like a little BDSM. Because she's like, I really want to be the big strong man, but also I want to be eaten. Like, I will throw myself into your mouth when we get intimate.
So I really like that Haru is the more sexually experienced. Mm-hmm. And I also like that, like, the logic behind her having all this sex is that she, because she's so tiny, she's treated like a child, except when she's fucking people.
Exactly, because they're like, nope, clearly no child. That's why we're doing this. It's like the one time she feel powerful and in charge. Oh, such a sweet boy. Pico, do you need all of the snuggles? Sorry, I have to stop drawing for a minute as I snuggle my bird. I took
He's
him
a
out
good
for a
bird.
walk earlier on his harness, and so he is sleepy, but also in need of reassurance, because the world is very scary. For a tiny bird. It's got things like crows and police sirens. He needs all of the snuggles.
Poor little birdie.
Yeah, life is very hard when you are 68 grams. He got to sit on a tree, though.
Good. He's living his best bird life.
Yep. He got some good sunshine, some fresh air. He got to sit in a little tree. Which he didn't know what to do with. He sat perfectly still on the branch and just was like, what do I do? What do I do here?
You color in Clip Studio, correct?
Yeah, I am currently doing so.
Here's an important public service announcement.
Oh.
That is about color settings when you export files.
Good. Good to know, thank you.
Because apparently the default in Clip Studio is desaturating your colors, and you maybe don't realize it.
Interesting.
And it's apparently the same problem happens with Procreate. So the person who made the original post, someone followed up with like how to fix it in Procreate too.
Oh, nice.
I was like, well, I haven't. No, someone did reply to be like, it is also a Windows problem. So it is
cool.
A Clip Studio in general problem.
Gotcha. Watch that after the stream because I did notice that the colors got a little wonky. Pico. Pico, Pico. Why you bite me? Does you need more snuggles? Such a bird. I have been doing a bunch of Blender tutorials this week.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I've been planning on it earlier in the year just because, like, I took that VR fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
They were teaching us about how to use VR and etc. And it really made me want to bust up my old skills in Maya. But the industry's like really moved on from Maya.
Yeah.
So now I was like, well, gotta learn Blender. It's a much shittier UI than Maya, but it's what everyone's using.
Also, you can make 3D things for your comics and reuse them.
I could make scenes, like a whole apartment, and then just move the camera around.
Yeah.
Just part of my plan. So that would be ideal.
I'm just thinking about how horny Beastars is.
It's so horny. I was not prepared for how horny it was. I was just like, oh, cool. There's like a Japanese furry thing. Let's watch that. And I was like, wow, this is horny.
I mean, I watched it going in knowing it was going to be horny. So I have that thing where if you tell me a spoiler, I am more likely to
Yeah,
read or consume said media.
yeah.
So Jack Saint, a YouTuber I really like, did a very long video about Beastars.
Nice.
The reason why he did a video about it is because he did a video about using animals as a metaphor for racism. And when it works and when it doesn't work. And he used 3 different examples. One is a dinosaur anime that and then one
It's
is
gotta be Zootopia.
well, Zootopia is the last one, and then because he wanted to give you 2 examples where it works.
Yeah, before we go into where it does not work, because
It's
it
not,
is
yes,
originally
yeah.
it was better, but it's a built by committee kind of story, so Disney was like, tone this down, move this, change this, and then suddenly it wasn't about race anymore.
Well, if it does, it like went into like, well, reverse racism is a thing. Like it's about race, but in a bad, messy metaphor. Like you unintentionally said some shitty things. And so the thing he was saying about when they work and when they don't work is if they're not animals and you replace all the characters with people, does the story still make sense?
Right.
And if they're just animals, does the story make sense?
Right.
So the dinosaur one is a situation where they're just animals. The story makes sense. And then the one where a sheep wants to become a wolf, doesn't make sense if they're animals, but does make sense if they're people, because it's basically a revenge narrative. A wolf killed this little lamb's parents, so now they will train and they will become the wolf.
Yeah.
And then they kill the wolf, and at the end, though, they have become so deadly that now everyone's afraid of them. So it's basically like, you know, if you train to become a killer to kill the killer of your parents,
Then
like
you are also a killer.
Yeah, and are also scary, and you become the thing that you fear/hate.
Yeah.
So it's like that one works because it makes sense. Even like if you turn all the characters into people, that story still makes sense.
Yeah.
I will say the wolf sheep looks badass as hell. And then they go in Zootopia, and Zootopia, if they're just animals, doesn't make sense. And if they're people, it doesn't make sense. So
kind of
that's
the worst of both worlds.
Yeah, so that's why Zootopia does not work. And then
real quick.
And then a bunch of people are like, well, Beastars. Because Beastars kind of doesn't make sense if they're people.
Yeah.
It also doesn't make sense if they're just animals. And because she never nails down the metaphor, too specifically, it does work.
Where I was like,
yeah,
okay.
so like, because some people, like we were talking about, like it could be racism, it could be about gender, it could be about queerness, it could be about all of those things at once, but also it's really pulling at, and this is why I like it, what would logically follow if this then that.
Yeah.
Because my favorite example is, where do dogs come from? If there's no humans, where do dogs come from? Have you read the manga?
No. Did they
Um,
actually answer that?
yes, they do. The manga answers that. It's probably gonna get cut from the anime. Because the first what was manga of the first 2 seasons, that amount of manga is gonna be covered by the last season. So they're gonna have to cut a
Right.
lot.
Yeah.
Um,
Did they like?
you,
Because my theory would be that they just like self-domesticated. That they're like, we just want to be real
um,
friendly.
I mean, kinda. But think about how you get dogs
Yeah.
and dog breeds.
Yeah. There's some eugenics happening.
Yes, the answer is eugenics. That's how you
Yeah.
get dogs. It's a
Okay,
eugenics
yeah.
movement that was funded by the government. That's how they got
That's how they got
dogs.
dogs. That's how dogs. Yeah. Yeah.
Jack in the manga passes a test to be in the upper echelon of class. And then he realizes that everyone in that class is a dog.
Dog.
So all the dogs have been genetically bred to be to take over the country, basically. It's a
Oh, the
eugenics conspiracy
anti-communists.
theory. Like, so Jack has an existential crisis because of what he's being bred for.
He's just a good boy. He just wants to be a good boy. Yes.
He
The
wants to
government.
be a
The
good
government
boy,
wants you to be
but
a good boy.
unfortunately, the government wants him to be a fascist.
Don't do eugenics.
But yeah, so Jack has a hard time in the end of Beastars. And there's also stuff like
Beastars Trump is it's just like one of those horribly fucked up English bulldogs that cannot breathe. And Beastars JD Vance is one of those fucked up chihuahuas.
that's so mean to chihuahuas. Don't
Chihuahuas are so...
I feel like JD Vance is one of those hairless terriers like Spike's old dog.
Oh yeah, where they can just like shake themselves to death.
Yeah.
Yeah, that tracks.
Anyway,
have you seen furry Kamala Harris and Trump?
no, I don't think I want to. I did see the Pokemon version of their debate. Obviously Trump was that like ferret Pokemon that has the comb over. And they made Kamala, and then they made Kamala the koala one because
of course,
the koala's name is Kamala. Yeah, like.
That one was very, very. How who came up with that? What am I drawing? What?
Like, listen to that little guy.
He's just squeaky. Little squeaky birds. They're good.
Squeaky squeak.
Sir, do not bite my pen when I'm trying to draw, please.
Also, a fun thing in the future of Beastars is the ocean. Because they really get into this whole don't eat meat thing is really a society taboo rather than like a we all agreed thing because the ocean is like people get it all the time. Like it happens. Legoshi gets a neighbor who's a seal that keeps getting naked.
Good.
Because of course they don't have clothes in the ocean. Like,
of course.
Yeah, so there's like a he like just moved to where Legoshi lives from the ocean. And he invites Legoshi over to like share a beer. And as soon as they're in the door, he like takes his pants off. And
She's like, whoa, what the
Legoshi,
fuck?
yeah, and he's like, "What?" Like, he's like, "Your clothes." And it's like, I know you're supposed to wear clothes outside, but
This is my house.
wait, people, yeah, this is my house. Like, I'm supposed to be comfortable. Like,
Yeah, you take your shoes off when you come inside. Take your pants off too.
take your pants off. Yeah. That's just how Seal Guy rolls.
Good. Nudist seal. Love it.
But yeah, so like with Zootopia, the problem was like they kept taking stuff from the real world and putting it in like surface level things. Because there's stuff like you can't just touch a sheep's wool,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, like that's clearly like you overheard that getting talked about. Well, you can't touch don't touch black lady's hair, but like that's
But like you didn't think of the implications.
implications of that. Yeah, like. So is the sheep a black lady? Like, are the herbivores the black people or are the carnivores the black people?
Yeah,
Because it goes back and forth. Because the carnivores are in charge.
Yeah.
But
the herbivores outnumber them.
But the herbivores outnumber them, and then you have stuff like, yeah, that you can't just touch the sheep's hair. And this past weekend I went to Abby Howard's wedding.
Oh, hey.
I saw Jeff there. I was telling Jeff about To Shape a Dragon's Breath and was like, if Alina didn't recommend it to me, I was like, Alina, then you need to read this right now. Nice. And when I told him what it was about, he's like, yes, that's an Alina book.
It couldn't be any more an Alina book. Like,
yeah.
I have read the Temeraire series literally at least 10 times through, and that's
I need to read that.
All like 12, well, 10. I think there's 10.
I need to read that.
It asks the important question of, you know what? What if the Napoleonic War had dragons? That would be better. And I was like, no, you're correct. Yep.
That would make it better. Smart. I mean, the Game of Thrones is basically running on what if the War of Roses had dragons, and that's and magic wolves, and that it is better.
Yeah, but George R. R. Martin's writing is not as good as Naomi Novik's.
No, it's not.
It's really not. I tried to read Game of Thrones when everyone was like really buzzing about it, and I got a few chapters in, and I was like, this is bad. I cannot subject myself to this.
Like I told you, I listened to the amateur audiobook that I found on YouTube, where the guy's cat keeps interrupting.
I love that.
And there's parts that I like, that are more like structural. I don't feel like his writing to line writing is that good, but I do think structurally there's some interesting things going on there.
Yeah.
And
he is not great at lyrical descriptions. So anytime he tries to
Yeah.
get kind of Tolkien-y and like really pretty up his prose, it
And
falls very flat.
I think I don't necessarily need someone to have flowery or like lyrical prose.
Absolutely not. But if you're gonna try it, like you better fucking nail it.
Yeah.
It's just gonna stand out.
And I think part of the benefit of the way he writes is that POV. I think it would have been better if the POVs were in the first person.
No.
Yeah. Because the third person, like,
omniscient.
You can tell that. Well, no, it's third person limited because I think that is a good device for prose. Yeah. Because then you get some stuff like one of the things I think is like changes that they made to the show that are good because it's an example of what works in prose versus what works on TV. Is so Sir Barrister, when in the books, when he goes to meet Dany, he's in disguise. And Dany's never met him before. So in her POV, when she describes him, you have to be a real eagle-eyed reader to realize that his description matches the description of Sir Barrister from the previous chapters.
Right. Otherwise, you're just going off of her POV and being like, I don't know this guy.
Yeah. So that makes the reveal kind of cool. Right. But you can't do that in TV because you have the same actor playing him. So the audience is gonna go. The audience is gonna go, "Who's this guy?" and then look him up on IMDb and figure out the secret. Yeah.
And so you're like, let's just have it be him. It's just him.
Yeah.
Here you go, Lance.
Because you also don't really achieve a lot by having him be in disguise.
No. It's just a neat little reveal.
Yeah. I mean, like, his reasoning makes sense. So it's not like a problem with the book that he's in disguise. It's more just doesn't really do a whole lot. Then so but the thing is because he's using third person limited, he sometimes withholds information that the character knows. So that way he can surprise you later. So like there's a part where Tyrion, to figure out who is spying for Cersei, tells Parcell that he's going to make a deal to marry off Marcella to Dorne. He tells Littlefinger a thing, and then he tells Varys a thing. And in the show it's very clear what he's doing. Yeah. And then, but in the books, it's not 100% clear because we're just enough outside Tyrion's head that the reader doesn't know 100% what he's doing. Right. And like it just feels weirdly opaque for the sake of being opaque. Mm-hmm. But it also makes sense that George R. R. Martin used to write for television because that would be how television would like handle a thing like that. Like we're not going to spell out what he's doing. Just have to wait and figure it out. And then also all the scenes sort of end on a mini cliffhanger. Mm-hmm. So like that's obviously like, oh yeah, so he wrote for TV. Like this is the end of the episode cliffhanger. Which is partly why it works so early on. So well early on is they had those little mini cliffhangers.
Complimented for doing that in my writing on one of the projects I was on. They were like, I like that you have a little mini cliffhanger at the end of every chapter keep people reading. And I was like, that's just from comics. I'm just used to putting something interesting at the end of the page. Yeah.
Especially webcomics, because like that's a thing that not necessarily print comics always do. Yeah. Print comics usually save it for a page turn. Yeah.
Whereas with
which would
webcomics, you're like, sometimes it is weeks between an update, so I need to keep people, wanting to come
yeah.
back.
So yeah, so like there's some structural stuff that I like, but I feel like his prose to prose, I kind of wish it was just straight up POV. And I don't know if I haven't read anything else by him, so I just don't know if he's not up to the challenge of switching the voice of the characters all that often.
Oh god, I read a book
Um,
recently where the author did that really well. Like, you didn't like there was 4 different characters she was switching between, but you didn't need the little chapter heading to see who it was. You just kind of were like, oh yeah, this is clearly this character. Oh
have
man,
you ever read the book Soon I Will Be Invincible?
no.
That does it pretty well too. Um, it is about there are two main characters.
Yeah,
One person telling the story is a supervillain, and it is his 64th attempt at taking over the world.
amazing.
And then the other POV character is a cyborg superheroine who just joined their world's equivalent of the Justice League.
Okay.
And so it's great because she's a little bit more, her prose are a little bit more robotic and straightforward and like not as like purple prosy.
Yeah.
Because she's part robot. Also because she has amnesia, so she doesn't remember how she became part robot.
Oh, interesting.
Um so all of her stuff, while being very direct, and like just stating the facts, is also very in the moment. There is no like thinking about or dwelling on the past. There is only here and there is only now.
Right.
The villain's POV, you understand why he is a supervillain, because he is the pettiest motherfucker who can't let anything go. And like, so it's like everything that he's describing then has like a page of backstory where he's like, let me tell you about this motherfucker and how I need to kill him. And like,
Great. I'm very into that.
and so it was pretty good. And then the audiobook's read by two different people. So like a lady's reading
Yeah.
the cyborg part and a dude is reading the
That's
supervillain part.
I like that a lot.
Um
I am trying to draw. Oh, good boy. I said I'm a good boy.
he's good. The goodest of boys. Then I'm trying to think of other stuff that has really good POV voice work. So Sean McGuire's Encrypted series, each book is a different from one character's POV. So she's not switching that often, so she can like sit and dwell on main characters, this character's particular voice. But when I was writing Misfits of Avalon, because the captions are their thought balloons, I had a lot of fun with most of the characters' thought balloons. But Elsie, the dumb one, who says everything that she's thinking, I had the hardest time writing her captions because it's like, I don't want them to be redundant, but also she blurts out everything that she's thinking. Right. So,
well, strike a balance.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun writing Ray's captions because she's the worst person in the world inside her head. Just the nastiest venom. Like, I remember when I was posting it online and she was introduced, and people are like, "Oh, I'm so excited for like a nice Sailor Mercury character," and then you see inside her head, and she's like, "All these motherfuckers are idiots. Some people shouldn't breed." Like, there's like all the shitty things.
Good.
And then my favorite part is when she figures out that the entire rest of the cast figured out who the King Arthur reincarnation was. And since she thinks she's smarter and better than them, she's like offended. Like, and it's like, how did you do that? No, how did you specifically do
idiots? That? How did you idiots
yeah.
figure this out? And I did not.
Yeah. And
absolutely
and then I have yeah, and then I liked writing Kimber's POV because she's trying to seem together and puffed up.
Fucking mess. Hey.
But she's 12. She's 12 and the rest of the characters are older than her. So so there's a lot of I can do this, I can do this, I can definitely do this. Though, speaking of prose, there was a thing going around on Tumblr that was an excerpt from who's the guy who wrote Fight Club? What's his name? Chuck something.
Oh, yeah.
And his advice, I think it was one of the more interesting bits of writing advice that I had seen. Because he said, don't use the verbs think, is, like, there were basically like use I forget how he described these types of verbs, but I think he said internal verbs. And he gave the example of Sam thought that Rebecca liked him. And he goes, don't tell me that. Tell me, show me why Sam would think that. And then he gives a paragraph that's every time Sam got out of class, Rebecca was leaning up against his locker and she would have a snide comment for him. And when he asked her to move, and his locker always was warm from her butt resting on it. And then she would brush him off, but sure enough, in between next class, she'd be there again.
Nice. I like that.
And so that gives you a clearer explanation of why Sam thinks Rebecca likes him.
Yeah.
And all the examples that he gave, one was Mary hated it when John came home late. No, Mary hated it when John went out drinking with his friends. And instead, he changes the paragraph to whenever John came home from drinking with his friends, it was usually late and she would be pretending to sleep. Pretending because she was never that still when she was actually sleeping. And then in the morning, she would make herself coffee, but not his.
Nice.
So it's like, little...
The resentment and the, like, I don't want to deal with you.
Yeah. And it's like, that is good advice. And that does, like, paint a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And the No Gods, No Monsters book that I'm listening to is really good at that. Like, because it's the werewolf that gets shot, the sister that is called to like identify the body and stuff. She keeps thinking about how her and her brother fell out of touch and like the things that led up to it and how it like started when they were kids. And yeah, so it's like slowly you're getting this glimpse of their whole relationship, and also how her brother could be a werewolf and she wouldn't know it.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And it's stuff like she thinks about it when IDing the body, and then she thinks about it again at his funeral. So you're getting like a wider and wider view of their whole relationship until the reveal.
Yeah.
And then I really like how Seanan McGuire opens up the Wayward Children book, Down Among the Sticks and Bones. Because the first chapter is called The Problem with Other People's Children.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've told you about that.
I went out and read it afterwards. It's very good.
Yeah. I love that opening. Just, yeah. Because it just paints such a clear picture.
Yeah. I really love that technique because it gives the character's inner life bigger precedence on the page.
Yeah.
Like, instead of just being like, I felt like blah, you have to kind of read into the things that they're doing to intuit how they feel. Mm-hmm. And that gives them like a richer inner life.
Yeah. And it also, he's like, if you're gonna move, have a statement like he hated blank or blah blah blah, adding it to the end of that paragraph. That's like, so is the counterpoint to the end of the thesis.
Yeah, so it's like so and so always made sure blah 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 the blah and blah happened.
Yeah.
I hated that fucking guy. You can juxtapose that too by like having like a barista have a really sunny smile when the guy comes in and blah 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 blah, and then at the end be like, she hated that fucking guy.
Yeah, or you could start it with to bring it back to 10 things I hate about you. Yeah. You could start it with I hated so and so. I hated his stupid cocky smile. I hate it. Like, it turned it into like stupid sexy Flanders. Like like you don't think about those level of details unless you do actually like someone.
Yeah. You don't notice those things.
Like, there was also someone was pointing out that in Pride and Prejudice,
yeah,
they're arguing, and there's the part where Mr. Darcy like comes onto her like in the worst, most insulting way, and just assumes that she'll accept his proposal.
Yeah, where he's I hate that I love you because your family sucks. And
here's the thing, though, is like, someone was like, maybe from Mr. Darcy's point of view, he does subscribe to Cardassians. Insulting is how you flirt. So he was thinking like, oh, she keeps yelling at me. Yeah. That means she likes me. Like,
tete-a-tete where we just like spar with each other verbally, and that's how we flirt.
Arguments are fun.
Yeah. So instead of being like, I love you and I will devote myself to you forever, I'd be like, listen, your family sucks, but I will love you anyway.
What was also, I rewatched Bridget Jones's Diary. because that's modern day Pride
Yeah.
and Prejudice.
Yeah.
And a thing that I do like, I ended up rewatching it because a YouTuber I like, Broy Deschanel, did a thing that was like the anatomy of a rom-com.
Nice.
And one of the things she talks about that is important for a rom-com is the ladies can't be too perfect. Like, they need to have all these sort of weird flaws.
Quirks. Yeah.
Because him saying, the guy saying, I like you, I like all these flaws about you,
Yeah, it's like, hey,
makes
if
it
even this weird
nicer.
quirky person can find love.
Yeah.
You don't have to
And
yeah.
you have, like, when Harry met Sally, and he says, like, he lists off, like, the annoying things about her that he likes. But it can be succinct, and she uses Bridget Jones's Diary as an example, because he says, I like you, and she, like, rolls her eyes and goes, except for, you know, the drinking and the smoking and the and she lists off all the things wrong with her, and he goes, no, I like you just as you are.
Right, yeah.
And so yeah, so it's like that wouldn't work for Cardassia.
No.
But Mr. Darcy's head, where ladies be fighting, so let's
That's how we flirt, I guess. I don't like
yeah.
a normal lady who is just a mirror and quiet. I want to fight and
Yeah.
bubbly spark.
Fight.
Yeah. Honestly, I liked her better when she was fighty and sassy too, and less when she was like, "Oh, I owe Mr. Darcy ever so much. How will we ever repay him? And he's so very pretty." I was like, Lizzie, get your shit together.
I did like someone was defending her mom.
Yeah.
Because they're like, all right, people go hard on her mom because of modern context.
Yeah.
But at the time, her dad really fucked up.
Totally.
Because he didn't really make any plans for any of his kids. Yeah.
Many daughters.
He should have, like, done something.
Probably part of the reason why their land was entailed.
Yeah. So it's like her dad.
I have made bad business decisions because all I want to do is sit in the library and read and not talk to people.
Gotta give Rebecca something to wear to a date. She knows her arms. Well, it starts with a date/job interview, because it's the start of the comic is Rebecca and Marnie are at a concert for the person that Rebecca's gonna work for. Right. And they go out to dinner afterwards. And since it's also a job interview, she needs to dress kind of nice.
Yeah.
But it's a job interview about being a bodyguard, so she has got to show off the gun show.
Mm-hmm. Part of the selling point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, also she can set things on fire and turn into a wolf, but, like...
She's not going to do that during the interview.
Also very strong.
Yeah. That actually turns out to be a problem in this story. I have a feeling that some people are going to complain that this story is anticlimactic in the end. Because it ends with Rebecca just quitting. Basically, pop star that she is working for is going to be has a little bit of like PTSD from an abusive partner. And Rebecca is very tall and very scary.
Gotcha.
So Rebecca keeps accidentally triggering her new employer.
Right.
So it ends with Rebecca realizing, I am not helping this situation and I need to leave. That is the best thing I can do. Because, you know, sometimes admitting that you can't do it is the best course of action. What are you working on tonight?
I just finished up a Zelda fan art. And now I'm drawing a very cool punk go away bird.
Was it Dragon Zelda?
Yeah.
That's good.
I like that one. I was gonna post it and then I was like, shit, I didn't do Link's arm. I forgot about it until the end because he was wearing the ancient warrior armor, so he doesn't have his normal look anyway. He's still got the weird arm though. Oh, my mom is in surgery right now. My mom woke up this morning, went to a doctor's eye appointment, and they were like, "Oh, your retina is detaching. You should come in." Yeah.
That's no good. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they like scheduled her for emergency surgery, which happened. She's in there now. So.
Oh.
I'm glad we're streaming because otherwise I would just be worrying.
Well, hope she makes it okay. Like
yeah,
that.
I mean, it's a fairly routine surgery, and they caught it pretty early, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely concerning. Also have maybe I should. I also have Sexy the Emperor fan art, which I should show you.
Yes, you should.
Some sexy squid art.
Good.
Where is my sexy squid?
They released new evil endings.
I saw, yeah. I haven't like seen any of them, but I heard that the one for Karlach is like especially heartbreaking.
It's just very out of character. Gale's is no gods, no masters. Kill all the gods. Yep. I support him in his endeavor. Maybe when I do an evil run, I'll play as Gale.
kind of floating, still also being a weird, sexy squid.
Also, I follow the Astarion tag on Tumblr,
Excellent.
so I'm always watching girlies fight about him.
Excellent.
A lot of how could you ascend him? Well, ascending him is really hot. Like, he still cares about me even though he's ascended. Like, no, you're a fool. He's just using your tab. Like,
Amazing.
ascending's not good for my meow meow.
There is a mod so that instead of looking scared in the ascendant ending, when Astarions bow before me, you look hot, you look like you're like into it. You're like, hell yeah.
No, that's no, the thing is that that's not what they changed. Is you look scared when he kisses you because he grabs like your face and then pulls you in and then he like pushes you away. Like, and the new patch changed that, so you're into it.
Cool. They were like, listen, we know what the fan base has spoken. We need to change this.
Which I don't know. I kind of wish they had kept it the same because it's off theme.
All right. He's not finished. I gotta finish drawing his leg, but I will send you my sexy squid. Yeah, I'll post it in the Discord. Anyone who's watching the stream can just look at it. It's on screen right now. Causing you all psychic damage, I'm sure.
Just sexy, sexy squids.
He's so sexy.
And if you don't think he's sexy, he'll mind control you into thinking he's sexy.
You will think he's sexy. Some sexy squid man. Yeah,
they don't have junk, do they?
No, they don't. It's just smooth. It's like
that makes sense because they reproduce by putting tadpoles in people's brains.
Exactly.
Do they have a cloaca?
They eat, so you'd think they would have to. Like they eat brains.
And also, where do the tadpoles come from? Like, someone must be laying those eggs, even if it is just the elder brain doing it.
Yeah, it might just be like the spawning pool is just something that the ships excrete. The ships excrete tadpoles. But if you do the Emperor romance scene, you're like, oh, that's the best I ever had. And I'm like, is it though? Or did he just make you think it's the best you ever had?
I mean, maybe you shoved your dick in his mouth. Because that's a weird shape.
Yeah.
So.
I would not put my junk anywhere near a squid mouth. They are bitey. They exist for nothing but to bite. There. That's a weird, sexy squid boy. With absolutely nothing going on under that loincloth. But that one about Baldur's Gate commission I got, the lady was like, "Hey, I'm hooked in with the squid fuckers. Do you want me to send them your way?" And I'm like, I mean, absolutely. Yes, please. The first of hopefully many sexy squids I will draw.
I think people are sleeping on Will.
Yeah, they are.
Will is underappreciated.
Yeah. Will has the unfortunate. I didn't get enough writing for my character, so it's hard to really think for me.
I don't know. I think he's adorable. I love his stupid superhero entrance. I love his little dance.
he's certainly objectively just a beautiful man. Like
Yes.
he's a very, very beautiful man.
I'm gonna play as Astarion and sex up Will.
He is
I
one
ship it.
handsome devil.
I ship it.
Yeah.
I also ship Will and Karlach.
Yeah.
I was thinking about what characters do I ship in Baldur's Gate, and they're mostly just everyone should fuck Will,
Hmm.
except for Gale and Shadowheart because I don't like them.
Yeah, Gale and Will is a weird combo. That's a rare pair for sure. Not one
A
I'm
lot of
into.
people want Gale and Astarion to hook up. I'm not feeling it.
No.
So yeah, so gonna do romance Will as Astarion, romance Karlach as Will.
Nice.
Gonna make a big dragonborn for Lae'zel.
Oh yeah, big red dragonborn. Riding
Yeah,
dragon Lizelle.
she wants to ride a red dragon.
Mhm.
And I will let her.
Quid's
I
got
will
two
let her
toes, right?
do. Um, I think they have like their ankle kind of looks like it could possibly become a third toe.
Yeah.
Um,
Let me
they
zoom
they
in
kind
on.
of they kind of look like bird feet, but not quite.
I gotta pull up some rough here. Okay, full screen. What's going on with them feet? Yeah, they got like they just got two toes, but like a big ankle.
Yeah, like it looks like, evolutionary speaking, maybe that ankle used to be a third toe.
Yeah, they definitely have. I don't walk on these feet
Feet.
vibes going
Yeah.
on. They're like these are not meant for long distance.
These are vestigial feet.
Yeah, they're just kind of there.
Um so the mind flare and the uh hobgoblin in the Underdark.
I love them.
Um, they're
That
fucking.
couple. Oh yeah, no, 100%.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, no,
I'm glad we're on the same page. They're
I've very much got those vibes. A literal bear, literal bugbear bear, and intellectual mind flare.
well, they're both doing their own research.
Yeah.
Because Hobgoblin guy is looking at mushrooms,
Mm-hmm.
and then uh Mind Flayer guy is looking for way to eat something that's not brains.
Yeah. And I can see them in the evening, both relaxing with a nice, like cozy chair, reading a book beside each other and holding hands
Mm-hmm.
in their dressing gowns, maybe smoking a pipe. We've got those like retired intellectual vibes. A friend of mine the other day was like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, are people into professors? And I was like, oh, honey.
Yes.
Oh, uh-huh. That is a thing.
Did they never hear the song "Hot for Teacher"?
Yup. I mean, that was about a lady teacher, but like equally
But
applies.
no, the plot, yeah, it applies. Like,
There's a lot of people who hot for teacher. There's whole
um,
tags about that on AO3. Because she was just like, yeah, I don't know, like, it's always like professor. It's like an older man, right? And that's kind of like you, like an old guy, right? Like, no, there's a lot of young, sexy professor fics are many. And there's
yeah.
some overlap with the Gale community. Because certainly
I mean, because he can become a professor.
exactly, and he's kind of got some of those Tweety vibes, even just as a regular old wizard. I'm not happy with that leg. I think I could do a sexier leg. Cal, the leg on the squid is not sexy enough. These are my problems.
Those are interesting problems.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, that's a better leg. That's a sexy leg. I'm giving him a full pin-up leg. This is a squid who wants some. What that some is, I don't like to compliment. Contemplate, but
Alina,
yeah.
if you were gonna write a vampire story,
Mm-hmm.
when would you have the first vampire come into being?
Ooh. I mean, if I was writing a vampire story, it would be a North American vampire. So kind of drawing from some of the vampire adjacent legends in North America, but vampires would specifically be a thing that came over with the colonizers. It's like, oh, you brought your weird monsters with you, and they're just like you.
So where would the first one come from?
So the first one would come from probably I might like full on Vlad Tepes it up and be like, listen, when people in that area get evil enough, sometimes they just become vampires.
So you would put it in like medieval times as the first vampire.
Yeah, I know it's very in vogue to have like, let's go all the way back to biblical times, and it's like a curse from God. I would not know.
I brought this up because while looking for more reference on Tumblr, I stumbled across someone who drew first vampire as a Neanderthal girl.
Oh, I like that a lot.
And I was like, I do like that. That's because then it's like all through human history there have been vampires.
That's way more than biblical times, and it's the curse of Cain.
Yeah, that's stupid. I guess if you're gonna have vampires hurt by crosses, it makes sense to tie it into Christianity. But I always do the like, it's not the specific religion that's hurting them, it's your faith in that religion.
Yeah, no, I like that too.
So for me, I in City Between World, the oldest vampire is from their world's equivalent of ancient Babylon. Because I figured written language being a good time for the first vampire would be a good like way to tie them together. Also, I think they're the first ones that invented money. And that fits with they're capitalists.
No, I like that.
Money happened, and then they also happened. Because I think, because the 5,000 Years of Debt book that I read was talking about how the first recorded debt was, I think, Sumerian or Babylonian. I forget which one came first, but one of those. And so as soon as you're recording people being in debt and money, I was like, that's when vampires should come about.
That's cool. I like that too because it would fit with my world building of like, listen, when folks get greedy and evil enough, vampires just kind of spontaneously happen.
I mean, I know how they got made in City Between Worlds, so I know that there is a few extra. I know specifically what caused them.
Cool.
But I just think like thematically, that's why they should start there, not literally.
What the fuck book is it? Okay, there's a book that I read ages ago that everyone was like, this book's got a fun twist, you'll like it. And I was like, oh, okay. It was sci-fi. And it was by the guy that does the Honor Harrington series. And it was like, hey, I'm doing a sci-fi, but it's set on Earth and it's not in the super crazy military far future. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. Let's give it a shot. It's like, oh, it's like kind of aliens are invading the world and they've got these shock troops and you're like, oh man, it's going bad for humanity. We're definitely losing. And then right at the very end of the book, it's revealed that the aliens are just vampires, and I threw the book across the room because I was so mad. I was like, "That's a stupid twist. Go away."
Do you know where Anne Rice's vampires come from?
Sort of.
I
read it.
I doubt that this will make it into the TV series. If it does, I think it will be hilarious, and I kind of hope that they do. They're aliens that built Atlantis.
Right.
So every vampire is full of nanomachines.
God, I hate that so much.
Like Queen of the Damned is all like, oh yeah, like they started at the beginning of ancient Egypt and like because of this and this ritual thing, and it's like no, even before that, they're aliens. Ancient aliens.
Aliens built Atlantis. Atlantis aliens.
I mean, at least it's a thing that doesn't exist that the aliens built, rather than saying that aliens built all the cool stuff because brown people couldn't have possibly built anything on their own. So it's at least it's a civilization that is mythical / doesn't exist. But yeah.
It's so dumb, I love it.
So dumb. I looked it up. First recorded debt is from ancient Sumeria, so
nice. So Sumerian vampires.
Yeah. Except it's, City Between Worlds, so they don't have any of our real countries.
It'd be like pseudo Sumeria.
Yeah.
City Between Sumeria. Honestly, I really appreciate that. So C.M. Wagoner does a book series I'm really a fan of. And it's like clearly based off of European, like British, sort of Victorian Edwardian, but it's all set in its own fantasy universe. So it's not England, it's I forget the name of the main continent, but instead of like Jesus, there's a guy called Elgar. So all the Elgarites are like Christians, but they're not really Christians. They got this whole other thing going on, and it's got a little bit of Buddhism because they're like you're caught in the reliving until you can overcome the burden of your sins. And Elgar will free you from your relivings. I like this twist. It's good.
In the next City Between story, a religion comes up, because this is one of the things where it's like, I don't want real world religions.
Yeah.
But obviously some people would still be religious, even if religions? Yeah, so one of the religions is called the Zoetic Temples.
Oh, cool.
The basis of which is because the other thing I wanted to deal with is, like, if it's an old enough religion, there should be a million schisms and subsects of it. So the Zoetic Temples, the basis of it is your body is a temple.
Right.
So you got to take care of your body and don't fuck up other people's houses, aka their bodies. And it gets brought up in the next City Between story that there is a fanatical sect of the Zoetic Temples that are transhumanists. Because so the pop star with the robot legs gets invited to speak and help at a charity event that one branch is doing. And at first she gets upset because she thinks that they tricked her and that they're the fanatical transhumanist sect. And she's like, I don't want to support people maiming themselves, because there are other people that actually need these prosthetics because of stuff beyond their control. like, and so there's like an argument. It's like we're not them. We swear. Like,
Right.
we just support body modification if you need it or want it. Like, so they're trying to figure out if they got lied to, and Rebecca's like, well, they had like a bunch of tattoo parlors advertised in the entrance, and I feel like if they were
Maybe
cutting
that's
off their
a
limbs,
little-
there would be less like skin for you to get inked if like so
Yeah.
probably okay. But then the other thing is like the other side of that is obviously there's a stricter, more naturalist version
Oh,
of
of
this
course.
religion
Where
that
everyone
would
will
be
have
no
true
tattoos,
lives.
no piercings, like
Now I'm just thinking of the
um
religion settings in RimWorld, which are good.
yeah. Yeah. So and obviously that more naturalist sect wouldn't like this pop star, so that she doesn't have to worry about them contacting her, but
Yeah.
it's kind of the transhumanist ones fetishizing her is what she's worried about.
Right.
And then another thing is so 7 is an important number in a lot of religions.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because there were 7 celestial bodies that you could see with the naked eye in the northern hemisphere.
Oh, that makes sense.
Cuz it was
It's like this number must be important. It's written in the stars.
yeah. So that like so it's basically we can see these things.
Yeah.
So that means this number is important. And so I was like, all right, so if this is a completely different world, I can change things up a bit by making 7 not important that way. So I have City Between World 9 is their important number, just
Cool.
because it's easier to design symbols with 9.
Yeah.
But I have to think of a religion that's like their equivalent to Christianity that I was gonna have them called like the Niners or something as like a shorthand.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing I was talking to Kevin about is a lot of like the words. There's a fine line between the words that get used for a religion and the words that get used for a cult.
Mm-hmm. Very, very fine line.
Because like Catholic just means like universal.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of like religious terms like that just mean something more general than that.
Yeah.
So when I was picking like Zodic, I was trying to find like okay, since it means living, is like that's not getting too culty, and is vague enough that but yeah, the other ones that are not I still gotta like figure out.
I should probably get going pretty soon here.
Before you go, I will share with you Rebecca's outfits.
Nice. Oh, I made that lady way too beefy this time. It's lying down. Alright, I will change it. But
The beefiest,
beefy
the
boy.
beefiest leg,
So
beefy squids. How do you like some calamari?
Yeah, I want it thick. Give me the tentacles. Gross.
There you go.
That's better. Now he's not quite so beefy for a skinny squid man.
I've shared with you Rebecca's outfits.
Oh, nice.
I think the two on the end would be like her date outfits.
Yeah.
Because those are harder to take off.
Yeah. Yeah, and they could be like very. Obviously, you wouldn't color them, but I can see if it was in color, it would be like the fancy date night ones would kind of be a little more Art Deco because that's the whole thing, have like gold flashes and stuff.
Oh, Rebecca can't see those, so she has little flames on the end. That's how you can tell that's the date one because there's like flame embroidery on it.
Yeah.
I imagine that she has a lot of red clothes because someone told her red looks good on her, but she can't see red.
No, she needs a friend to go shopping with her.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna send you my updated
right.
sexy squid, and then I'm signing off.
And then we're heading out.
Yeah. There. Sexysquid.jpg.
Good.
That's a squid pinup. There we go.
Good.
Send them their inks tomorrow.
All right.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for watching. As we discussed vampires and sexy squids.
Yeah. Check out our websites. Go look at our stuff.
Yes. I'm at kelmcdonald.com and Alina's at alinapete.com.
Hey everybody. We'll see you
Bye.
later.